That's kind of cool, huh? Um, this is a coaster from OneOdio that actually came with the studio hi-fis. Came with a little stand and this coaster. That was pretty cool. Got something different here. Now this is something really different for OneOdio because they haven't made an open back before. So this is their first foray into open back. This follows on the footsteps of the Monitor-80, which was closed back. I know it did look open back because it had that nice little grill on it, but this one is the open back one. Now, additionally to that, this is their first one that is like major powered because this is 250 ohms. So the other one, the 60, I believe, was 38 ohms. I could be wrong, but it was in the 30s. And that's normal and standard for a lot of headphones. They're usually in the 30s. You can find some that are like 18 and lower in that. But usually you find like the first tier usually has it at like 32 ohms. Then you get into more professional, and those are usually 50, 60. What is it? The Coney's, I think, are 55. My AKGs are 60. And then you get the Bear Dynamics, which are like, they come in a variety of different ones. They start from 80 to 250, and then they go up from there. So this one has 250, so they're not fooling with this one. High res audio. This has a composite diaphragm in it, and we'll get into that in just a minute. I'm going to look on the back here. Then we'll show you the units. Specifications here. The model name, obviously, the OneOdio Monitor-80. It's got a 40 millimeter as opposed to the 50 that was in the closed back Monitor-60. You get two cables. One is a straight cable. Now it shows here a microphone, but one is just a regular straight cable, and one is a cable with the coily cords. I'll look in the box, but I believe that mine didn't have that. You get a case, you get the manual and everything, and of course you get the headphones. Impedance, like we said, 250 ohms. Sensitivity is 100 decibels, which isn't so bad. I mean, these aren't the hardest thing to drive, even though they're 250, but they do benefit quite a bit from having an amp DAC, whether it's portable or a desktop unit. Maximum power is 1600 milliwatts. Plug type 3.5 and 6.35. This has their patented dual plug that we're so used to, so that's always good. What else should be noted? It is an open back headphone, and that's basically it in a nutshell. Big thing being that this is the first open back and the first 250 ohm ever from the company. So there's a nice looking box. Inside you get the case, and it's so big I'm gonna have to move it off to the side. So inside you get the case inside. A nice kind of big egg case with the OneOdio logo. And a nice little strap here. The case is semi-hard. It does have a little bit of flex, but it is hard to protect the headphones. So that's good. And of course it's got plenty of room in here if you want to put your DAC amp or something like that. Oh, the cable came out. So this is the first cable. And you see you have the 3.5 and the 6.35. And it is coiled, so it stretches, which is excellent for the studio. Then we also have this cable here, which it says has a mic, but there's no mic on this one. And this is 3.5 to 3.5. It's also an excellent cable. These are both rubberized. Really nice. You have the case, you have the units themselves. Another first is this velour, kind of like Bear Dynamic. And this thing kind of reminds me of a bunch of things. Now it is all plastic to build, and you will have a little bit of a squeaky noise. Maybe once it breaks in, you won't. Yeah, just slightly. So, and that's, believe me, I've gotten that on $400 pairs that are made out of all plastic. I see the open grill right here. You have your 3.5 jack, your 6.35 jack. These can be daisy chained together, so you can have other people listening to what you're listening to as well. Now, obviously, the sound's going to leak. There's going to be very little isolation because these are open, and they have velvet pads. So keep that in mind. Left and right indicators there. You also have left and right indicators on the metal. These things are decent size. There's some nice padding up here in the headband. It says OneOdio. The band does have metal reinforcement, so that is the one metal part of this. There's some nice thick metal reinforcement in there. Definitely has a good adjustment. And of course, like most OneOdios, it has a really nice range swivel. Now these don't kind of flop all over the place like others. They have a little less swivel because of the design is slightly different. The plastic feels good. Feels like a solid plastic. They look fantastic. I mean, look at them. They're absolutely gorgeous. People would think you have a much more expensive pair than what it is. So other than that, comfort is good. Didn't find any heat with the velvet pads, even on a hot day. Going to place them up there just like that. Okay, the important things. The sound. Now, these are marketed as open back monitor headphones. Now, the presentation on these, it has some neutralities, but it isn't 100% natural. The bass on this is very deep, although it does have a fast roll-off, so it doesn't hang around. It's not slow. It actually has a decent amount of speed. So there's some good speed in the bass. It definitely has a fast roll-off in the sub bass. You get into mid bass, it's punchy, it's tight. Sub bass has some good depth, some good rumble there. Comparing them to similar headphones, these definitely outdo bass-wise my M220s from AKGs. They even actually have a little bit more emphasis on the bass than even the Philips X2HRs. So they're very good on the bass. It's a very good quality kind of bass. It's not all mucky and muddy. It definitely is good, but it's definitely more toward the emphasized side than neutrality. And I'm trying to do this video really quick because there's a really bad thunderstorm coming. I can already hear it on its way out in the distance. So I'm not trying to rush this or anything, but it should be a fairly simple, because this is a fairly simple, it doesn't have a lot of complexities to it. So bass is decent. Both sub bass and mid bass have a very nice punch to them. You get into the mids now. The mids, obviously, the lower ones are going to be warm. They have a nice tonality to them. This being a V shape, and there's definitely a recession there in the mids, but the vocals seem to be forward in front of the instruments, and there's decent separation and overall. So nothing that wasn't expected for, actually the bass was a little bit more than I was expecting for an open back, but I mean for like a V-shape open back, a little bit of recession in the mids is perfectly normal. Of course, that'll depend on what you're listening to for recordings and what equipment you're using. For the most part, we use both desktop and portable amplifiers and DACs for this. I like to throw a bunch of varieties and see what it actually sounds good on. And of course, the Griffin from iFi, always my favorite testing tool. I do like to try TK2 as well, but I mean for like portables, it's like the Swiss Army knife of audio things. I mean, it just does everything so good. So I found it very comfortable. I found the build quality decent. You have to remember this is under, actually right now, I think this is like under $70, but normally it's under $100. So, we're not going to expect, DT 1990 quality sound or Audio Technica open backs. I forgot what model that is. I had one a long time ago. We're getting good sound out of this. We're getting decent mids. They have clarity. There is warmth in the lower mids. The upper mids are a little brighter. Then we get into the treble, and the treble is good. Now, the treble doesn't overdo itself. I wouldn't describe it as polite, but it does have a quick roll off to the treble. There's great detail there. There's enough sparkle there and energy there and definitely details in the treble. But it is more kind of smoothed over, and it peaks and then goes away really quickly. Now, treble sensitive people are obviously going to like that. And treble, for the most part, is neutral. As with the mids, I would consider the mids kind of neutral. They're not overemphasized, even though the vocals are a little forward. Male vocals sound a little bit better to me, at least, than female vocals on this. It does have some peaks in the tuning. It's not perfect, but you can change that by changing the pads. You can change that by EQing it. You can change it with so many different ways. I use the stock pads, stock cable, and everything. Later on, I think I'm going to change the pads for maybe leather and see what that does to the sound and everything, because I really do like these, and I want to keep these out and use them more often than I would with some of the other pairs that I have. So then we get into soundstage. Now, soundstage, don't get me wrong, soundstage on this is very good. It's very wide. I find the soundstage on this better than the Philips X2 HRs. But, this is made for monitoring. Don't expect super wide holographic. It is wide. It is probably equally deep, and there's an equal height to the soundstage. But overall, it sounds natural. It kind of in a natural field, like, just around your head, just outside the ears, just like if you were outside listening to something, maybe a concert or something. So it is tuned really kind of naturalish, but it does have a nice width to it, a real world kind of width and depth and height. Where it shines there's really good imaging here. There's some good layering. There's some good details and separation of the instruments, and it's fairly accurate for all of that too. You can pinpoint things if you're using this to play a video game or something, because I know a lot of people, they like to do the open ears for the video games, which I happen to like too. There's some good accuracy there overall. So the soundstage is very good. I wouldn't say it's the star of the show. I think overall, the kind of natural tone of this, not overdoing itself with everything. Even the bass, where the bass is powerful, nothing is overdone on this. And while it isn't completely neutral, like you would expect of like a higher end monitor, it does a decent job, and it would be good for somebody starting out, somebody, just starting to get into, whether you're getting into audiophile, that hobby, or whether you're getting into music editing, video editing. It still would come in handy for that. And it's a good budget, solid buy. So for that, I definitely recommend it. I find it very enjoyable. It's definitely non-fatiguing for the whole day use. It's comfortable, and it's got decent build quality. Going back to the Pro 10s from OneOdio and that, they've vastly improved. And this is another step forward, so I can't wait to see what else they do next. Plus, you get a nice case. You get all these nice cables in the box as well. Really just an excellent product. I highly could recommend this. Just don't, set your expectations. You're not going to get a DT 1990 or 1770 or like that for $60, but what you are going to get is a decent headphone for the cost. That is for sure. So this has been the OneOdio. This is the Monitor-80. the successor to the Monitor 60, and a very decent budget offering from OneOdio for people looking for something open back and good for doing some, studio editing or something like that. Definitely take a look at this guy. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that this video was informative. Be safe. Here comes the storm.